All right. Figuring out all this equipment still. Last time I didn't quite get the microphone right, I don't think. Okay. Here we go. On the way to go and see the new Superman film. This one's going to be for the podcast. You know, it's funny. A lot of times my wife will say, "You're so lucky you get to go and watch movies all the time, and I wish I could do that." And I always have to remind her, it's like, it's not the same as going to watch a movie for leisure or just for fun, because there's a bunch of things you have to do when you're doing it for a podcast or a show. First of all, you've got to go at a weird time. I mean, granted, there's less people around, so that's kind of nice. It's not really like a social experience by any means. So you got to go at a weird time, but then also you've got to pay like super duper attention to the film. So it's not like you can just sit back and relax and enjoy and just immerse yourself. You know, you're paying attention to the characters and to the plot and to the story. Here goes my camera. Especially for this particular podcast that we do, we are looking for, looks like some guys are cutting trees down here. Just pay attention real quick. Oh, side note, looks like these guys are set up with helmets and the Sena audio connectors. That's pretty cool. I've seen a few of them on YouTube, the guys that do the tree work with like super coordinated audio devices. Golly, I gotta get a mount for this thing. But anyways, that's a little side tangent. So back to the whole going to watch a movie for work is not the same as going to watch a movie for fun. So you're paying super attention, and you gotta take notes, and you gotta think about talking points, and you gotta think about themes and what the director is trying to do and kind of read into motive, and you got to do backstory work and all the things that go involved in creating a piece of content based on seeing a movie. There's a lot of buzz about this film. It is already doing pretty well in the box office. Today, I think, is July 11th. And it's doing well in the box office. It's probably going to be a huge hit. Of course, there's some interesting dialogue somewhat on Twitter or X and various places saying that this might end up being a super woke film. Not so sure about that. I hope it's not. About to find out, and I can probably tell you like a very basic overview on my way home after the film. But I'm hoping it's going to be just a good classic Superman superhero movie. But yeah, we'll see. This time I'm going on my lunch hour, so I'm going to eat a hot dog while I'm there. Yeah, I know, like great, awesome, healthy lunch. Hot dog at a movie theater. Got to do it for the fans, do it for the show, for the podcast. And it's weird, my local theater here, you know, I've been going to this theater since I was a kid. And I remember when they built it, you know. You don't have a stop sign, buddy. I remember when they built it, and now it's kind of old and grimy and gross inside, and it's kind of weird to watch entropy happen, especially with familiar places. I'm driving around the mall here where I grew up too, and yeah, there's hardly anybody here, and of course it is the middle of the day on a weekday, albeit it is Friday. But you know, there's hardly anybody here, and a lot of the mall buildings or the shops in the mall are closed down, and Yeah, life's kind of weird like that. Life, if you pay attention, life is entropy. And you can see it happening in real time. Right here where I'm driving by, I remember as a kid, literally right here, we were parked and I watched my first car accident. Saw a bunch of young people, probably teenagers, hit a median and flip their car like multiple times. And at the time, my mom had one of those old Nokia brick phones, and she was talking to somebody on it, wasn't paying any attention to us. We're like, Mom. She's like, don't interrupt. Finally, we're like, there was a car crash, and she finally got off her phone call and realized, oh, there's a car crash. And it was really wild. Happened right over here, probably like 25 years ago. Anyways, gonna go watch Superman. I'll let you know how it is. All right, so I just saw Superman. That was fast. A little over 2 hours, 2 hours, 9 minutes, something like that. And yeah, I don't know if I should try and give much away about it. I tried something new this time. Probably would be helpful to do this more often, but yeah, I took a little notepad in there. It is very hard to take notes in a movie. Sometimes when you're in a brighter scene and you've got some more light, you can see, but otherwise you're just kind of writing blind. And turn out here. Sometimes you're just writing blind, and it's not always the easiest to keep it on the right line. But yeah, so I got some notes taken this time. Interesting themes in the movie. I can maybe understand where there might be some political overlap in this movie. There are some items that one might perceive as being like politically motivated, but it's hard to say. Interesting placement of, I guess you could say, like Americana items. A lot of interesting Americana items. I mean, both in Lex Luthor's possession and also Superman and his history. One in particular that stood out to me was Lex Luthor has a occult peacemaker. It's like all nickel plated and it's got ivory handles, and he shoots this guy who's Superman, or who had helped Superman, like this regular falafel guy, like who had fed him when he was hungry or whatever, some Indian guy. And he shoots him with this peacemaker, and I don't know, I'm not sure if it meant anything at all, but it seemed like there could have been some meaning there. One thing, whenever I watch a movie like this, I am not the best at remembering all the names, or the actors in particular, but the names in the story, the characters. So I've taken to where I'll have to watch it, I'll take notes, and I'll go back and review who they all are, because I just don't remember them off the top of my head. So I almost have to do like an after action report, which I'm going to do that when I get back home. Yeah, I'm trying to think about other themes that would be worth mentioning in the film. There's two factions. There's like a Middle Eastern type faction that seems to be like a more advanced, corporately funded, like Lex Luthor funds them, their military and their weapons, and then like a smaller tribal faction, like this Middle Eastern type war. And I couldn't help but wonder if it was alluding to the Israel-Gaza conflict. It might not have been, but it was a little suspicious that it might have been alluding to that. There's also an interesting theme of propaganda and the world being controlled by bad actors by way of technology. For example, Lex Luthor has this army of monkeys running server farms and putting out like bots or like basically bad social media posts about Superman all over. And that was interesting for sure. It almost seemed like what you'd see from like Chinese or Russian influence campaigns. And then also using the media or social media to put out bad press on Superman about supposedly his parents had actually sent him to Earth essentially to colonize it or to rule over it. And, you know, obviously, like, he's a white guy. So he wasn't raised to do that, of course, by his parents on the farm. He was and he only got part of the message, allegedly. So he was raised to be a good person and to serve. And, you know, his dad gives him a speech close to the end that we as parents are not here to tell our kids who to be, but we're here to give them tools. Which, you know, I think that's pretty accurate. That was pretty solid from what a parent's supposed to do. Anyways, there'll be some spoilers. I probably ought to mention spoiler alert earlier on in this for those who might want to go see Superman. But yeah, interesting film. Probably worth watching. I think it's going to do really well in the box office. It's already out the gate strong. And yeah, probably worth watching. Meanwhile, it looks like I'm pulling into the house. So, thanks for coming along. Peace.